The small human ship drifted quietly through the dark space between stars. Commander Jake Martinez sat in his captain's chair, watching the endless void through the main screen. His crew was small but skilled. Lisa Brooks worked at the engineering station, her fingers dancing over the control panels. Dr. Kevin Clark studied star charts at the science station, looking for new planets to explore. Amy Johnson sat at the security post, alert and ready for anything. The ship was called the USS Pioneer. It was not a warship. Jake and his crew were explorers, sent out to find new worlds and make contact with friendly alien races. They had been traveling for 3 months now, moving slowly through unexplored space near the edge of human territory. "Captain," Amy called out suddenly. "I'm picking up something on sensors. Big ship, coming fast." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "How big?" "Really big, sir. At least 10 times our size. And it's heading straight for us." Before Jake could respond, the lights on the bridge flickered. The Pioneer shook violently as some kind of energy beam locked onto their hull. Lisa's hands flew over her controls, but it was no use. "They've got us in some kind of tractor beam," she reported. "I can't break free." Through the main screen, they watched as a massive alien ship came into view. It was dark and threatening, covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Strange symbols glowed along its hull in red light. "Incoming transmission," Kevin announced. The screen changed to show an alien face. It was reptilian, with scales instead of skin and yellow eyes that glowed with intelligence and cruelty. The creature was huge, easily 8 feet tall, with natural armor plating covering its body like a living tank. "I am War Captain Zethkar of the Vorthak Empire," the alien spoke through a translation device. His voice was deep and harsh. "Your ship will be brought aboard. You will surrender or be destroyed." Jake stood up slowly. He had trained for first contact situations, but nothing had prepared him for this. "I am Commander Jake Martinez of the human exploration vessel Pioneer. We come in peace. We're explorers, not warriors." The alien's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Peace," he repeated, as if the word was funny. "How interesting, we shall see." The transmission ended. Within minutes, the Pioneer was pulled into the belly of the massive Vorthak ship. Jake and his crew found themselves surrounded by a dozen alien warriors, each one bigger and stronger than any human they had ever seen. The Vorthak moved with the confidence of natural predators. Their scales gleamed under the harsh ship lights, and their claws clicked against the metal floor as they walked. Each warrior carried weapons that looked impossibly heavy for any human to lift. They were escorted through corridors that seemed built for giants. Everything was oversized, from the doorways to the control panels. The air smelled of metal and something else, something wild and dangerous. Finally, they reached a large chamber where War Captain Zethkar waited. Up close, he was even more impressive than on the screen. His scales were darker than the others, marked with scars from old battles. When he moved, muscles rippled under his natural armor. "So," Zethkar said, walking slowly around the 4 humans. "These are the mighty humans we have heard whispers about in the outer systems." He stopped in front of Jake, towering over him. "You are small, weak. Your skin is soft like a child's. Tell me, human, how did your species ever leave your home world? Did you beg some stronger race to carry you to the stars?" Several Vorthak warriors made harsh sounds that might have been laughter. Jake kept his voice steady. "Humans are explorers. We built our own ships. We seek knowledge and friendship among the stars." "Friendship," Zethkar repeated. "Another weak concept. In the galaxy there are only the strong and the food, the hunters and the prey. Which are you, little human?" "We prefer cooperation to conquest," Jake answered. This time all the Vorthak laughed openly. Their harsh voices echoed through the chamber like the sound of breaking glass. "Cooperation." Zethkar shook his massive head. "Your species has much to learn. In our empire, we have conquered 47 worlds. Each race we encountered claimed to seek peace and cooperation. Each race now serves us as slaves or fertilizes our crops." He gestured to one of his warriors, who stepped forward carrying something that made Jake's eyes widen. It was a weapon, but unlike anything he had ever seen. The rifle was enormous, easily 6 feet long and thick as a man's torso. Dark metal gleamed along its length, and energy coils glowed with stored power. "This is a Devastator," Zethkar explained. "Standard infantry weapon for our warriors. It weighs 200 of your pounds and fires plasma bolts that can melt through tank armor." The warrior holding the weapon was smaller than Zethkar, but still massive by human standards. He held the enormous gun as easily as Jake might hold a handgun. "Even our smallest warriors can use these weapons effectively," Zethkar continued. "They require great strength, you see, strength that weak races do not possess." He nodded to the warrior, who placed the massive weapon on the floor between them. It hit the deck plating with a heavy thud that shook the metal. "Go ahead, human," Zethkar said, his voice dripping with amusement. "Try to lift our weapon, show us the mighty strength of your species." The other warriors gathered around, their yellow eyes bright with anticipation. They expected entertainment. They expected to see the human struggle helplessly with the massive gun, proving once and for all that humans were fit only for slavery or death. "Come now," Zethkar pressed. "Surely the great human explorer can at least try. Or are you too frightened to even attempt it?" Lisa, Kevin, and Amy watched with growing concern as their captain stared down at the enormous weapon. The Vorthak. Warriors chittered and hissed among themselves, already enjoying the spectacle they expected to see. Jake looked at the weapon, then at the circle of alien faces surrounding him. Each warrior stood ready to laugh at human weakness. Each one believed they already knew the outcome of this test. They were about to learn something new about humans. Jake approaches the massive weapon calmly, ignoring the jeers and hostile chittering of the assembled Vorthak warriors. Lisa watches with concern while Kevin and Amy exchange worried glances, uncertain of their commander's intentions. The Devastator lies on the deck plating like a fallen tree trunk, its dark metal surface gleaming under the ship's harsh lighting. Designed for beings with twice human height and 3 times human muscle mass, the weapon appears impossibly large next to Jake's relatively modest frame. Without hesitation, Jake bends down and grips the weapon's handle with both hands. The Vorthak expect him to struggle and fail, perhaps injuring himself in the attempt. War Captain Zethkar leans forward with anticipation, ready to witness the confirmation of human inferiority. To the alien's complete shock, Jake lifts the massive rifle with apparent ease. Not only does he raise it from the deck, but he shoulders the weapon properly and demonstrates familiarity with its basic operation. The Vorthak warriors fall silent, their chittering laughter dying in their throats as they witness something that should be physically impossible. Jake explains calmly that humans evolved on a high-gravity world, making them naturally stronger than they appear. Earth's gravity is significantly higher than most inhabited worlds the Vorthak have encountered, requiring constant adaptation and strength from its inhabitants. But there's more to the demonstration than raw physical capability. Jake's military background becomes apparent as he handles the alien weapon with professional competence. He identifies its power source, safety mechanisms, and firing controls within moments of examination. The mood aboard the Vorthak ship shifts dramatically. Warriors who moments before were laughing at human weakness now exchange uncertain glances. War Captain Zethkar's confidence wavers as he realizes his fundamental assumptions about human capabilities may be dangerously incorrect. Jake sets the weapon down carefully and addresses Zethkar directly. He suggests that perhaps the Vorthak have underestimated not just human physical abilities but human adaptability and intelligence as well. The demonstration has served its purpose, creating doubt where certainty once existed. Jake approaches the massive weapon calmly, ignoring the jeers and hostile chittering of the assembled Vorthak warriors. Lisa watches with concern while Kevin and Amy exchange worried glances, uncertain of their commander's intentions. The Devastator lies on the deck plating like a fallen tree trunk, its dark metal surface gleaming under the ship's harsh lighting. Designed for beings with twice human height and 3 times human muscle mass, the weapon appears impossibly large next to Jake's relatively modest frame. Without hesitation, Jake bends down and grips the weapon's handle with both hands. The Vorthak expect him to struggle and fail, perhaps injuring himself in the attempt. War Captain Zethkar leans forward with anticipation, ready to witness the confirmation of human inferiority. To the alien's complete shock, Jake lifts the massive rifle with apparent ease. Not only does he raise it from the deck, but he shoulders the weapon properly and demonstrates familiarity with its basic operation. The Vorthak warriors fall silent, their chittering laughter dying in their throats as they witness something that should be physically impossible. Jake explains calmly that humans evolved on a high-gravity world, making them naturally stronger than they appear. Earth's gravity is significantly higher than most inhabited worlds the Vorthak have encountered, requiring constant adaptation and strength from its inhabitants. But there's more to the demonstration than raw physical capability. Jake's military background becomes apparent as he handles the alien weapon with professional competence. He identifies its power source, safety mechanisms, and firing controls within moments of examination. The mood aboard the Vorthak ship shifts dramatically. Warriors who moments before were laughing at human weakness now exchange uncertain glances. War Captain Zethkar's confidence wavers as he realizes his fundamental assumptions about human capabilities may be dangerously incorrect. Jake sets the weapon down carefully and addresses Zethkar directly. He suggests that perhaps the Vorthak have underestimated not just human physical abilities but human adaptability and intelligence as well. The demonstration has served its purpose, creating doubt where certainty once existed. The atmosphere in the chamber had changed completely. Where moments before there had been confident laughter and cruel amusement, now there was silence and uncertainty. The Vorthak warriors looked at each other with questions in their yellow eyes. Their simple test had produced an impossible result, and none of them knew what it meant. War Captain Zethkar paced back and forth in front of the humans. His claws clicked against the metal floor with each step. Jake could see the alien commander's mind working, trying to process what he had witnessed. The certainty that had driven Vorthak expansion across the galaxy was built on the idea that physical strength determined a species' worth. But what happened when a seemingly weak species turned out to be stronger than expected? One human lifting one weapon proves nothing, Zethkar said finally, though his voice lacked conviction. Perhaps you are an unusual example of your kind. Perhaps human leaders are enhanced in some way that common humans are not. Dr. Kevin Clark stepped forward. He had been quiet during the confrontation, studying the aliens and their reactions. Now he cleared his throat politely. If I may, War Captain, I could explain more about human biology and evolution. It might help you understand what you just witnessed. Zethkar stopped pacing and turned to face the scientist. Speak, human, but know that lies will be met with pain. Kevin adjusted his glasses nervously but kept his voice steady. Everything I tell you can be verified through our ship's databases. Humans evolved on Earth over millions of years. Our world shaped us in ways that might not be obvious at first glance. He gestured toward Jake. Commander Martinez isn't enhanced or unusual. Every human you meet will have similar capabilities. We all grew up under the same conditions that created these strengths. Impossible, one of the warriors interjected. We have encountered many species. None possessed hidden strength like this. That's because most species didn't evolve where we did, Kevin continued. Earth is what we call a death world. High gravity, violent weather, predators at every level of the food chain. Just surviving required abilities that other worlds didn't demand. Lisa Brooks joined the conversation. As an engineer, she understood the practical applications of human adaptability. Our ancestors didn't have natural weapons like claws or armor like scales. They had to make tools, build shelters, create solutions to problems that would kill them otherwise. She pointed to the Devastator lying on the floor. That weapon is impressive, but humans have been making tools for hundreds of thousands of years. We look at any object and immediately start thinking about how to improve it or use it differently. Amy Johnson spoke up from her position near the wall, and we never gave up. Human history is full of battles where smaller, weaker forces defeated larger, stronger enemies through planning, persistence, and the refusal to surrender. War Captain Zethkar listened to each human speak, his expression growing more troubled with every word. You claim your entire species possesses these traits? Not just selected individuals? Every human, Jake confirmed. Some are stronger than others, some are smarter, but we all share the same basic capabilities. We all came from the same harsh world that demanded excellence just to survive. Kevin continued his explanation. Human children grow up playing games that would terrify most alien species. We throw ourselves off cliffs attached to ropes for fun. We deliberately seek out dangerous situations because overcoming challenges is part of our nature. Our sports involve deliberate violence, Amy added. We slam into each other at high speeds, fight with our bare hands, and compete to see who can endure the most pain. What you might see as warfare, we call entertainment. Zethkar's warriors shifted uncomfortably. They were beginning to understand that their initial assessment of humanity might have been dangerously wrong. But humans appear peaceful, one warrior said. Your ship carried no weapons. You spoke of exploration and cooperation, not conquest. Lisa smiled grimly. We are peaceful, when we choose to be. But there's a difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war. Humans have spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. We got very good at it. Too good, Kevin added quietly. We learned that unlimited warfare would destroy our species and our world. So we chose a different path. But the knowledge, the skills, the instincts, they're all still there. Jake stepped forward. Every human child learns about our wars. The strategies, the weapons, the tactics that won and lost battles throughout history. We study violence so we can avoid it, but that doesn't mean we've forgotten how to use it. We also learn about persistence, Amy said. Humans have a saying, never give up. We've survived ice ages, plagues, natural disasters that wiped out most life on our planet. Each time we adapted, rebuilt, and came back stronger. War Captain Zethkar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful, rather than aggressive. Your species chooses cooperation over conquest, but you retain the ability for both? Yes, Jake replied simply. We prefer to make friends rather than enemies, but we're very good at dealing with enemies when we have to. And every human possesses this duality, this combination of peaceful intentions and violent capabilities. Every single one, Kevin confirmed. It's what made us successful on Earth, and it's what allowed us to reach the stars. One of the younger Vorthak warriors spoke up. War Captain, if this is true, then our standard methods of evaluation may be inadequate for this species. Zethkar nodded slowly. Indeed. We assumed that apparent weakness indicated actual weakness. We judged by size and obvious physical traits. But if these humans are correct, then we have encountered something new. Not new, Jake corrected gently. Just different. Every species develops according to their world's demands. Your people became strong and armored because that's what your environment required. Humans became adaptable and persistent because that's what ours demanded. The question now, Lisa said, is what happens next. You've learned something about us. We've learned something about you. Where do we go from here? War Captain Zethkar looked at each human in turn, then at his own warriors. The certainty that had driven their expansion was gone, replaced by uncertainty and the uncomfortable realization that the galaxy might be more dangerous than they had believed. Before he could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Emergency lights flashed red and the deck vibrated with the sound of battle stations being called. A warrior rushed into the chamber and spoke rapidly in the Vorthak language. Zethkar's expression changed from thoughtful to alarmed. He looked at the humans with new eyes, no longer seeing prey or potential slaves but possible allies in whatever crisis had just emerged. The warrior who had rushed into the chamber was breathing heavily, his scales flushed with stress colors. He spoke rapidly to War Captain Zethkar in their harsh native language. Jake couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakably urgent and fearful. Zethkar's expression grew darker with each word. When the warrior finished his report, The war captain stood silent for a moment, processing the information. The other warriors waited tensely, their earlier confidence completely gone. "What is it?" Jake asked. "What's happening?" Zethkar looked at the humans with new eyes. No longer did he see weak prey to be conquered. The conversation of the past hour had changed everything. Now he saw potential allies, beings whose hidden strengths might be exactly what his people needed. "A fleet has appeared at the edge of this system," Zethkar said grimly. 50 ships, all identical, all broadcasting the same message. "They call themselves the Hegemony." Amy stepped forward. "We've heard rumors about them in the outer colonies. Machine intelligence, right? Artificial beings that see organic life as inefficient." "More than inefficient," Zethkar corrected. "They believe organic life is a waste of resources. Planets should be stripped of biological matter and converted to serve machine purposes. They have destroyed 17 star systems that we know." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. 17 systems? How many people lived in those systems? "Billions," one of the Vorthak warriors said quietly. "The Hegemony does not take prisoners. They do not negotiate. They simply erase." Kevin adjusted his glasses nervously. "And they're here now? How long do we have?" "Their fleet will reach us in 6 hours, Zethkar replied. "My ship is powerful, but against 50 Hegemony vessels." He trailed off, leaving the obvious conclusion unspoken. Jake looked around the chamber at the assembled warriors. These beings had seemed invincible just an hour ago. Now they faced extinction at the hands of an enemy they couldn't defeat alone. "What about your empire?" Amy asked. "Can you call for reinforcements?" "The nearest Vorthak fleet is 8 days away," Zethkar said. "We will be dead long before they arrive." The chamber fell silent except for the continuing wail of the alarm. Systems. Everyone understood their situation. The Vorthak couldn't win alone. The humans were too few to make a difference. Separately, both species would die in this system. "Unless," Jake said slowly, "we work together." Zethkar turned to face him. "What do you mean, human?" "Your people are strong, well-armed, and experienced in combat. But you think in straightforward terms. Direct assault, overwhelming firepower, victory through superior strength." Jake gestured toward the massive devastator still lying on the floor. "Those tactics work against organic enemies, but machines think differently." "And humans understand machines?" Zethkar asked. Lisa nodded enthusiastically. "We've been building and fighting artificial intelligence for decades. We know their weaknesses, their blind spots, the ways they can be confused or misdirected. Machines follow logical patterns," Kevin added. "They calculate probabilities and choose the most efficient solutions, but human tactics often deliberately choose inefficient approaches because they're unexpected." Amy grinned fiercely. "We specialize in doing things that don't make sense to logical minds. It drives our own computers crazy sometimes." "War captain." Zethkar considered their words. His warrior instincts told him to reject help from beings he had considered inferior just hours ago, but his survival instincts recognized that pride was a luxury he couldn't afford when facing extinction. "What do you propose?" he asked finally. Jake stepped toward the chamber's main display screen. "First, we need to see what we're dealing with. Can you show us the Hegemony fleet?" Zethkar barked orders in his native language. The screen came alive with tactical displays showing 50 identical vessels approaching their position. Each ship was a perfect geometric shape, all angles and sharp edges. No wasted space, no decorative elements, just pure functional design. "They're beautiful in a horrible way," Lisa whispered. "Perfect killing machines." "Each ship is approximately the same size as my vessel," Zethkar explained. "But their weapons are more advanced, their armor stronger, their coordination absolute. They fight as one mind controlling 50 bodies." Jake studied the formation. The Hegemony ships moved in perfect mathematical precision, maintaining exact distances from each other. It was impressive but also revealing. "There," he pointed at the screen. "That's their weakness." "What weakness?" a Vorthak warrior demanded. "They are superior in every way. They're too perfect. Amy explained. Look at their formation. Every ship in exactly the right position, all maintaining optimal firing solutions and defensive coverage. It's flawless. Which means, Kevin continued, they can't adapt quickly when something disrupts their perfect plan. Chaos confuses them because chaos isn't logical. Lisa was already thinking like an engineer. If we could split their formation, force them to break their perfect coordination, some ships would be isolated and vulnerable. But how do we break a formation of 50 ships with only one? Zethkar asked. Jake smiled grimly. We don't fight all 50 at once. We make them fight each other. For the next hour, humans and Vorthak worked together to plan their defense. It was an odd partnership. The aliens provided detailed knowledge of their ship's capabilities, weapon systems, and tactical options. The humans contributed unconventional strategies that made the Vorthak warriors shake their heads in confusion. You want to do what? Zethkar asked when Jake explained one particularly bizarre maneuver. Trust us, Lisa said. Machines calculate based on expected behavior. If we do something completely unexpected, their response algorithms will struggle to adapt. The plan they developed was insane by Vorthak standards. It involved deliberate vulnerability, apparent retreat, and tactics that seemed designed to ensure defeat. But Jake and his crew explained each element patiently, showing how human military history was full of victories achieved through exactly such seemingly foolish approaches. When the hegemony fleet finally arrived, the Vorthak ship was ready. Hidden modifications had been made to the engines and weapons. The humans had programmed new tactical subroutines based on their experience fighting artificial intelligence. Most importantly, the two species had learned to work together. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Vorthak's strength combined with human cunning created a fighting force that the hegemony's logical minds couldn't predict or counter. Ships that should have been destroyed survived through impossible maneuvers. Weapons fired in patterns that made no mathematical sense but achieved devastating results. In the end, the hegemony fleet was not destroyed but confused and damaged enough to retreat. The perfect formation had been shattered, their coordination broken by tactics too chaotic for their minds to process. As the last enemy ship disappeared into hyperspace, War Captain Zethkar turned to Jake with something approaching respect. Your species, he said slowly, is more dangerous than we imagined, and more valuable as allies than as enemies. Jake extended his hand in the human gesture of friendship. After a moment's hesitation, Zethkar grasped it with his massive clawed hand. Partners? Jake asked. Partners. Zethkar agreed. In the days that followed, formal contact was established between the human government and the Vorthak Empire. The galaxy, they both realized, held threats that neither species could face alone. But together, combining Vorthak's strength with human adaptability, they might just survive what was coming. The weapon Jake had lifted had become a symbol of more than just physical strength. It represented the moment two species learned that their assumptions about each other were wrong, and that sometimes the greatest victories come from the most unexpected alliances.